9 people who found you liable of sexual abuse. Do you think that will deter women from voting for you?
No, I don't think so, because I think the whole thing, just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I rarely go into other than for a couple of charities. I met her in the front door. She was about 60 years old, and this is like 22, 23 years ago. I met her in the front door of Bergdorf Goodman. I was immediately attracted to her, and she was immediately attracted to me. And we had this great chemistry. We're walking into a crowded department store. We had this great chemistry, and a few minutes later, we end up in a room, a dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman, right near the cash register. And then she found out there were locks on the door, so she said, I found one that was open. She found one. She learned this at trial. She found one that was open. What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings them up, and within minutes you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room?
You say you were in Bergdorf Goodman.
I was coming out of Bergdorf's. I was coming out, and he was coming in. He was standing out, and he put his hand like this. And he said, come advise me. I want to buy a present. I said, oh, for who? He said, for a girl. So I was enchanted. It was such a great moment. Walked in, and the minute I was in there, he shut the door and pushed me up against the wall and bang my head. You know.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Did anyone want to role play a rape with you in a public place?
Yes, there was one, a bit plain, and it was not her fantasy, it was mine.
Okay.
Yeah. Role play took place in the dressing room of Bergdorf's. While she was trying on lingerie, I would burst in.
Hold on.
We got him now. We got him now. The walls are closing in. Yes, all these cases against Donald Trump, and the one that they gave the least amount of credence to was E. Jean Carroll. And that's the one that got him. Let's chat about that for a while, shall we?
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. This is the Afternoon Drive. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you are a subscriber to the channel. Once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That will give you notification of every time I come on here to rant, rave, and deliver to you one of my undeniably flawless reasonings. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up and then share it to your social media platforms. That's how we get the word out that we're here, because I promise you there's absolutely positively no one else like me doing this anywhere on YouTube. That's not bragging. That's an undeniable, verifiable statement of fact. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. The only thing that this $83 million payout proves is that justice is absolutely gone in this nation. Let me explain. The idea that our founding fathers birthed into this nation when putting together the judicial system was that every citizen had the right to trial by a jury of their peers. And what we have now are jury pools of either left or right. That's it. Left ideology, right ideology. And this is apparently the way the robed justices are actually going to act as well. This idea that justice is blind when it comes to politics and they're above the political fray, that's all a bunch of hogwash. That malarkey, you like that, Joe Biden? I used your word. That malarkey is out the window. That's a facade. That's fake. That's phony. The judicial system is now officially weaponized and socialized and has taken on ideology. So all I can say at this point is if that's the way they want it, That's the way they ought to get it. Because the honest truth is, you think about, on the political left, how many of those politicians are so stinking corrupt? Not only the taking of bribes, but just everything about them and their families. And you know what? There are still plenty of red states in this nation and still plenty of red state attorney generals out there. Maybe it's time to just start absolutely litigating anybody who's on the political left. They apparently want to do it to us. This whole hogwash that we can't let Donald Trump get reelected. We've got to save America from fascism. Wake up, people. Look around. It's already here. And you Democrats that tune our way, you leftists that tune our way, are you paying attention to what's happening? Get over your Trump derangement syndrome for a moment and think about what's actually happened here to Donald Trump. Here is a guy that is absolutely claiming he does not know this woman, that he's never met this woman, that he's never been in a Bergdorf dressing room with this woman or having raped her. And yet, without a trial by jury over whether or not any of this hogwash is true, a summary judgment is made that, okay, there may not be enough evidence here to prove rape, but certainly you defamed this woman. Okay, this woman who came out wrote a book about accusations, and it either happened in the summer, the winter, the spring, or the fall. She couldn't remember the season, couldn't remember the day, couldn't remember the day of the week, couldn't remember, like pertinent details. And Donald Trump simply said she's crazy. She sued him for that, and a judge and jury in New York decided that he has to cough up $83 million. $83 million. This is as out there as the judge in the Mar-a-Lago case, where the Attorney General of New York wants to, basically put Donald Trump out of business and not allow him to perform any type of business dealings at all anywhere in the state of New York, assessing that he overestimated his values and therefore that was some type of RICO crime. Okay, let me see. Real estate. He assessed the value of his property at one thing, asked the banks to borrow money on that. Of course, the banks come in, they do their own assessment of the property. They come back and say, nah, it's not worth as much as you say it is, but hey, you know what? It is worth this, and loaned him the money. He paid the money back. Buildings were built. Real estate was improved. Where's the crime here? That's code. There wasn't any. And valuing Mar-a-Lago at only $18 million. I'm sorry, does this judge actually have any type of real expertise in real estate? Is he a real estate developer himself? I mean, what are his credentials to be able to set the value at that? But yet, that's what's happened. He's already been declared guilty of fraud and overestimating his property values, and now we're just waiting on a jury to tell us, you can't do business in New York anymore. And that's what's happened with this whole E.G. Carroll thing. Here's what Trump needs to do. Sue her. Sue her into oblivion. She wrote a book. She defamed him. She's been claiming that he raped her. She's defamed him. Now, of course, Trump does what he does. He calls her crazy, calls her a loon, this, that, and the other. And this is what, she was able to sue him on. Fine. Pick a Trump-friendly state where you're going to get a right-leaning judge and a right-leaning jury and sue her for something. Counter-sue her so that the amount you're supposed to pay is offset by the amount she has to pay you. And, basically we get a football referee in there to say, okay, we've got a holding foul on the offense. We've got a penalty on the defense, and the two penalties cancel each other out. I hate to say that, but this is where we are in this lunatic, non-democratic operating system in which we find ourselves in. He just needs to, buy a house somewhere, a real Trump-friendly state. I mean, a state that, he wins by triple digits, and buy a house there, claim residency there, and sue her. And there is plenty of Trump country out there. There will be a jury that would step in and say, yeah, she got to pay Donald Trump $100 million off the, her book and defaming him. That's what has to happen. All right. There's not much more I can say about this. We see where the judicial system is at. But what I wanted to do, and I don't do this very often, but we're going into the Afternoon Drive archives. And when I first dealt with this story, and this loon then being interviewed by Anderson Cooper over on CNN, it's so apparent that this woman is just, it's just obvious. It's just so obvious. And so let me take you back a little bit in time, a few months ago, and from the Afternoon Drive archives, enjoy.
I just say it's a fight. That way I'm not the victim, right? I'm not the victim.
You don't feel like a victim?
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Rape is a fantasy? You brought this woman onto your network, CNN. You let Anderson Cooper, I normally wouldn't point this out because this is not, I'm not trying to be, as I say it, Anderson Cooper's gay. Did anybody inform her she's hitting on a gay guy? I mean, literally, she's hitting on the gay guy on CNN. This woman is a loon. She is a whack job. She is a crackpot. And what she's alleging here can actually be traced back to an episode of Law and Order on NBC. She has these allegations against other known executives, including one from CBS, that she's just one of these women that thinks that every guy who sees her wants her. Kind of like AOC, who thinks any conservative that ever says anything critical of her, it's because they want to get with her and she won't get with them. Yeah, okay. I've talked about this in the past. I won't give that any more oxygen. But this woman was able to go into a courtroom, bring up allegations over 20 years old. Because this is all about got to beat Donald Trump. And they can't beat him straight up in an election. They know that. So they have to find another way to take him out. Look, Jimmy Dore, who is a leftist progressive and does not like Donald Trump, sees through this.
This guy, DC Trano, tweeted out, did you know that the statute of limitations for sexual assault in New York is typically 5 to 7 years? New York even has a 20-year period for civil claims of sexual assault. But that wasn't enough to get Trump. Jean Carroll's claims go back to the mid-90s. So New York amended the law. When did they amend it? In 2022. To provide unlimited statute of limitations for civil claims of sexual assault, and provided a 1-year window where pre-existing claims could be litigated. That's where Jean Carroll comes in. Funded by a Democrat activist, she filed her claim against Trump in that limited window, and even a liberal New York jury wouldn't find Trump liable for rape. People paying attention know what this truly is, another political attack to try and harm Trump before the 2024 election. So they really did this. And here it is. Forbes says statute of limitations, this is from last year, statute of limitations on sexual assault eliminated for 1 year in New York. For 1 year they did this. This did this so they could exactly do this to Trump. And I have to remind people, everyone knows I'm no fan of Trump. But people who aren't a fan of Trump need to realize that if anybody from the outside attacked the establishment, if Bernie Sanders, I tell Bernie voters, If Bernie Sanders actually had the spine to grab power, which he doesn't, but if he did, this is what they would be doing to him. Stuff like this. They would be passing laws and they already said he was a Russian. They already said his followers were. They said he was a sexist. They said his followers were sexist, misogynist, and violent. And they already did all the stuff they're doing to Trump, and they did, and so that's why this is wrong. So I'm not, again, no fan of Trump, and everybody should, but it's obvious what they're doing. The last lawsuit they did to him was the exact same thing. That DA in New York did the same thing. This is all because they are afraid that they can't beat Donald Trump at the ballot box, and this is so obvious. It's mental.
$83 million, some jury said Donald Trump has to pay this person. Honestly, you can't make this kind of corruption up.